Good morning, gorgeous. We're going to do a channeled message. It is not necessarily about what we want in this life. It is about what our soul came to do. So much of what we think we want is based out of ego and a perpetual pattern projected out into the future. Not to mention social norms. That's an add-on. It is when we leave our comfort zone that we find what our soul truly wants for us and thus are able to step into our highest timeline. So this message is for anyone who's been feeling spirit. I just saw a bird and had this confirmation within me just now. This is for anybody who feels like they're being redirected over and over again. And it's getting a little frustrating because there's plans. You know what I mean? There's plans all day long. Oh, but I planned to do this. Oh, but I planned to do that. Spirit is saying it doesn't really matter what you planned. It doesn't really matter what you want. Because mostly what you want isn't even what you want truly at all. It's what your ego wants. It's what society around you has told you that you want. It's what this ego creation of your embodiment of humanity, your personality, and just the role one-on-one, Spirit, thank you so much. The role you took in your family, the role you took in your friend group, basically just the picture that the world held up to you and said, this is you. Because I don't know about you, but that's how my life has played out. Yes, I have been a sovereign being in a way that a lot of other people haven't, but I have still had people hold up a mirror of me, a false mirror, and say, this is you. So many times I can't even count. People that love me, apparently. People that said they loved me, and still somehow wanted to hold me back and keep me small. The thing is, they didn't even know that they were doing that either, though, because that's their own ego projection of who they think I should be. We're all living in this box. It's like with a lens. I don't know the box, but there's a lens over our life that's ego colored. It's just speaking for our ego. It's representing our ego. And we all think, at least some of us still think that we are that ego. We think that we're that ego's projections of who we are, who we should be, or what we're capable of, or what we want. So for example, thank you, Spirit, if you've ever been in a relationship that wasn't good for you, romantic right now I'm talking about, then you know that sometimes what you think you want isn't exactly what you need or really what you want at all. It's just a certain part of your, okay, so if you're the kind of person that attracts a lot of toxic people in your life, like I used to, that's probably because you've had a lot of toxicity in your life up until that point, so it feels very comfortable and natural to just kind of step from the toxicity you grew up in into another toxic relationship or another toxic circle of friends. And the point is, that's not what you want. That's not what your soul fucking wants, at least. That's what your ego thinks it wants, based on a projection made that, from way back that you were never consulted on. By the way, am I just tripping, or does that kind of look like a rainbow right there on the ceiling? That might be a sign for you, rainbows right now, that you're on the right path. So Spirit's just saying, don't struggle and try to go backward to what you want, and especially don't get attached to the story of what you want. That's the quickest way to get stuck in quicksand, is kind of what I'm seeing. Somebody's trying to move forward, but this quicksand is just swallowing them up. And it's because and no offense if you did the whole college and maybe even master's degree and you did all that stuff and maybe you ended up not using it or just changing your mind, or you felt inclined to shift gears, but you felt like, I've already committed, you know what I mean? I've already committed to this path. Look behind you, all this time that you spent. It's like you feel like you're at the craps table and you want to go, you've already sat there and poured in all this money. You have to kind of ride it out because you've invested. This whole idea of investing, I just have to say, your soul doesn't care about that. All right. And again, it doesn't really matter if you did that or not. There's love here no matter what. I'm not judging you, the process. All right. Being human is fucking weird and confusing. Trust me. I feel it. But the point is you weren't designed to come out with a plan, especially if it was a plan your parents planned out for you. Okay. Which is definitely not my story, but I know that there are some people out there who've had family members, again, who've just said, this is who you are. No. This moment right now, thank you, Spirit, is about discovering who you really are. Who are you really? Outside of all the projections of the people around you, who are you really? 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 Who are you really when you are listening to your soul, when you're asking yourself, your highest self, not your basest self, not your lowest self, your ego mind, you're asking your higher self, what do I want right now? Not what did I want 5 years ago, not what did I want last month or even yesterday, because I have news for you. You're evolving. You're evolving even beyond what you thought was possible for humans to evolve. We're all evolving in ways that we can't even really account for from a conscious place, because our egos don't have room for the kind of evolution that's taking place, because it's a soul evolution. Thank you, Spirit. Wow. Yep. It's a soul revolution. Yes. Fuck yes. Even though that was an accident. I don't believe in accidents. It's a soul revolution. It's like our soul's just saying, excuse me. If you would just step aside for a second so that I could actually play out what you came here to do. All right? Because in a 555, thank you, fucking Spirit, represents rapid change. Let's see if I can remember what I was saying. Your soul is just like, step aside. I wanted to say, step aside, fool. But, and actually, fool is a great card in the tarot deck. It represents newness, innocence. Being a fool doesn't necessarily, it's not a bad thing, in my opinion. But regardless, it's a little bit of sass from your soul. Step aside, fool. I've got this. You've had your time. It's kind of like people saying, that men have had their time to talk and whatever. I don't know. I am a woman, and of course I agree that men have had a lot of time to talk. But there's a sense of women being like, step aside and let us talk. Love to all the people. No judgment here. Everybody's welcome to speak their mind here. But your soul's just kind of like, yeah, we've heard what you have to say. Now it's time for a new era. Okay? So regardless of what you believe of that last statement, that's a real thing that's happening. A lot of people are having that conversation. And I think it's a good conversation to be having right now. Any conversation that hasn't been the conversation that's happened for time immemorable, it's a good conversation to be having. Even if the conversation just ends with cool, we don't need to do that. I'm glad we had that conversation. Now we're done. Because what Spirit wants us to do is start turning over rocks and looking at what's underneath, getting curious about our lives and about ourselves and about the universe. Much like a kid, much like the Fool in the tarot deck. Excuse me. So yeah, just have fun with it. Try not to take it too seriously, and do not look backward at a bunch of time that you've potentially, I don't really believe in wasting it, because we learn something from every single thing that we do. But just because you've been in a relationship for X amount of years, or you've been pouring X amount of time into a job or some kind of project that doesn't feel right anymore, doesn't mean that you're supposed to double down. No. You're not supposed to look at it from an ego perspective of, but I've already invested this much time and energy and money. I have to keep dumping more time and energy and money down a hole, because it makes sense. No, it might make sense to your ego. It might have made sense to your ego, but even that, I think at this point, your ego is kind of like, all right, now let's do something different. Not really. Your ego is always going to want to stick with what's comfortable. But my point is, there's a little sass here today, if you can't tell. My point is, just don't keep putting that energy into areas that are not serving you, and that on a deep level just aren't for you. This is a time to step outside your comfort zone, and I know a lot of you are really resistant to that. And as a person who's been doing it basically full time for at least a year, if not 3 or 4, I can say I understand it's not fun. It really isn't. Our ego is real, and our ego does kind of try to hold back. It's like trying to get a cat out of a room. It's clawing on the drapes. It's like trying to get a cat to go to the vet or something. It's just no. It'll do whatever it has to do to let you know how little it loves what you're doing to it. And that's what the ego does. And so a lot of us just give up. It's like a kid, complaining. There's a couple episodes on The Simpsons when, can we have a pool, Dad? Can we have a pool, Dad? And they ask at the same time over and over and over again all day long. Finally, he just says, okay. That's what your ego is doing to you. There's this sense of just I'm just going to bother you over and over and over and over and over again until you listen to me. That's what the ego will do. And a lot of people succumb like they would to a petulant child. They just fine, have whatever you want. Just leave me the fuck alone. That's what your ego's doing to you. Don't fall for it. Okay? Redirect. Thank you, Spirit. Redirect. And that works with kids too. I don't have any, but so I'm told. Redirect the attention. Just start focusing in a different area. My favorite thing to shift gears and focus on is gratitude. Because usually when we're up against a wall with our ego, there's some kind of, tantrum being had. And when we redirect to gratitude, we're able to see that same moment through a new lens. Thank you, Spirit. From a new perspective. Ooh, sorry, my nose really itches. Sometimes I take that as meaning that it's right on the nose. But regardless, yeah. So just know that a lot of you are being challenged, and a lot of you might be backsliding or feeling close to backsliding. Don't do it. Don't do it. Keep moving toward your higher self. Keep letting your soul guide you, okay? Because it knows what you signed up for. You signed up for this life as a soul, whether you know it or not. Even if you don't believe in souls, a lot of you guys can believe in a higher version of you, even because time isn't linear. It's been scientifically proven. It's not linear. It doesn't move in the same way that we think. It doesn't exist in the same way. So technically, for those of us sensitive enough, we can actually feel into future versions of ourselves. And that is a version of our higher self, a version of us that's already done a lot of the things that we're about to do. That part of you is guiding you forward, okay? So even if you don't believe in God or angels or ancestors watching over you like I do, believe in a higher version of you that's already done whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. They're on the other side going, you can fucking do this. 1111, Spirit, thank you. You can do this. All right? Keep going. This is an exciting moment. Don't let your ego take this moment from you. Don't let anybody take this moment from you, because it's not just your ego trying to hold you back. There are people around you that want you to fail. There are people around you that aren't feeling, they don't feel comfortable with the amount of power that you really hold within you. They don't want that power. They don't want you to recognize how powerful you are. Thank you, Spirit. They want you to get confused. And even that sentence, trying to get that sentence out, felt like a good example of that. It just felt like it wasn't coming, and it was getting confused and warbled, and people want to, and that's what gaslighting is all about. A lot of times people don't even know what they're doing. It's like subconscious programming, ego programming, when they manipulate and gaslight and stuff. It's not even that they're bad people. Sometimes they are, or whatever. What does that mean, bad person? It just means sometimes it's intentional, is what I mean. But a lot of times it's not. I can say with confidence that most of the people that have done that to me in my life were just so damaged, so toxic, and they weren't even aware of it. They hadn't done the work yet. They didn't know how to self-introspect. They didn't know how to become emotionally aware, intelligent, and self-aware. So they just react in the moment, and it's the ego that's reacting. It's the ego that's saying, attack this person verbally, or just say the first thing that comes out of your mouth to hurt them. That's the ego. Your soul doesn't want to hurt anyone, even if they hurt you. Your soul just wants to live in peace. Okay? So separate yourself from anybody who's trying to drag you down. And old versions of you that are trying to drag you down with love, let them go. Let them know that they're not in the driver's seat anymore. And give yourself a voice. Thank you, Spirit. Give yourself a voice to speak out to the people that have hurt you in a respectful way, in a way that respects you and them. In a way that when you look back 20 years down the line and you reread it or re-listen to whatever it is that you said, you're going to feel proud of how you said it. Don't hurt people, just because they hurt you. And if you can't say anything nice right now, don't say anything at all. You don't need to say anything. And by the way, when I say nice, I don't mean you don't have to be nice, but don't be disrespectful. You can say something and be honest, and it might not be nice for them to hear, and that's okay, because it's important for you to speak your truth. I just mean sometimes people take it as a cue to just be careless, and I don't think there's ever a right time to do that, especially if we want to create a peaceful world. We have to be accountable to that same peace that we point the finger at everyone else. That they don't have that, or they're not contributing to that. How are you contributing to that kind of war mentality? In little ways, because those little ways add up. Every single thing that you do, the butterfly effect, every single little thing you do has a fucking impact. So make it a peaceful one. Make it, whatever it is, make it a beautiful one that's going to have a positive impact rather than a negative one, okay? I know there's a lot of messages in this, as I say. Feel free to listen to it multiple times over a couple days or whatever to absorb all the information. I also just want to say that I am going to be posting a little bit less because I'm really being called to take care of myself and my mental health, and I'm prioritizing planting seeds locally and actually making friends and creating clients in my town and just being human in a different way since the pandemic. So do feel free to go back and watch old videos. All of my videos are timeless. And even videos I made 3 years ago are still very much relevant. They all represent a very important piece of this journey of ascension and healing and growth. So if any of those pop up in your suggested videos, or you just suddenly feel like you need some guidance, there's hundreds of videos that I've posted. Please go back and enjoy them. They're timeless, okay? And if one pops up for you or you feel called to one, it's because there's a message for you. All right? I love you so much. If you need a private reading, my website is sacredmuseproject.com. I offer mentorship as well, and I just love you so much. I'll see you soon.